Okay, so here we are. I've got a centered ball of clay. I'm just starting with that 2 pounds that I've had before. And we're going to flatten this out and pull it out into a donut like we did for the tiles. We're going to make a donut. Then we're going to pull a short wall. And we're going to use our ribs to make some changes in shape. And then we're going to cut those and leave them in a ring. And we'll let them set up a little bit. And then we're going to cut them off and use them as strap handles. So this is a way to make a wider handle, a bigger handle, maybe a more mechanical looking handle. And you can make a whole bunch of these and then cut them down to size. So this is one way you can approach handle making. So I've got my centered ball of clay. I'm going to press down, so I'm pressing on the top. Now if I just press on the top, what happens to that ball of clay?
You're going to get that, yeah.
I'm going to get a mushroom, and this is going to become off center, okay? So I have to push back at the same time as I'm pushing down. So I'm trying to always maintain this vertical wall on the outside. So I'm pushing in concert. Now, you want to make sure that as you're doing this, you keep an eye on how clean the side of your wheel is. And where did I put my sponge again? Oh, here it is. Okay, good. This is like classic. Because as we come out, if this is wet, the clay has nothing to stick to because it loses friction. So we want to keep in mind, so I'm just going to flatten this out a little bit. That's about 1 inch thick. I'm using this portion of my hand from the center to the back. I don't want to push the center of my wrist down because it will just make a hole in the middle. Remember that you want to be touching the whole axis of the clay from the center all the way down to the side, and that's where your hands come in like that. So I've got this flat pancake about 1 inch thick, and now I'm going to open it up, just like you would with any other ball of clay. And I'm going to go all the way down to the wheel head. So I'm just pushing and going all the way down. I'm not trying to open it wide. I'm just trying to get down to that wheel head, which I have. So I'm all the way down, so there's going to be no bottom on these. Now I want to come again and clean up my extra water there, and I need to kind of compress the rim of this big fat circle. So I'm just combining this down and in. And now I'm going to start being able to pull this clay on the center, but if I just pull it and I don't put any pressure anywhere else, it's going to become uncentered, right? So I need to still be pushing on the outside and the top. So I'm pinching between my hands and pushing down on top. And I'm trying to slowly, I'm going to need a little more water. So I'm kind of pushing down, and sometimes I grab a little bit of clay. And I'm slowly bringing this out. I'm going to stop for a minute. You're always going to have junk that gets left on the floor here. So I'm just going to go in and kind of clean it up and reestablish that 90-degree angle on the inside. It's starting to look a little bit more like a cylinder donut, so I'm just compressing, cleaning up and smoothing off that rim. And I want it to stay kind of fat and chunky like this because then I can grab it and stretch it out wider. And so I'm going to do that, but again, first I'm going to come and clean this up. And now I'm going to pinch on either side and push down at the same time. I'm trying to come in contact with every part of this clay, and I really want to be pushing down very strong because if I just pull out or towards myself to the outside, it's going to loosen and come off the wheel head. So I'm pushing down first, and then I'm just very slowly bringing it out. I'm going to carefully release. I'm watching my rings on the inside. I want them to be concentric right on top of each other. Almost inevitably, you're going to get more off center, right? And so it's just trying to figure out what this controlled movement is. And again, just like anything else, it takes practice. So I'm trying to, in a sense, recenter it as I'm pulling out towards the edge of the wheel head. And I don't need to come out super far. I'm going to come out until I have my collar here about, maybe it's 3/4 of an inch. But I'll come back in and I'm just using my thumb. I'm not going to worry about that junk in the middle. I do want to maintain my 90-degree angle on either side. All right, and now I can make a pull. So I'm just going to slowly come up. Remember that when you are wider on your wheel, you have to come up even slower with your hands because you're coming around. It's further distance.
Yeah.
So it's a larger circumference. I'm going to compress that. I'm going to come again. I'm going to leave a little extra clay here and leave a little extra clay there. When you think about a handle fitting into your hand, you can kind of think about how it fits. So you can see how this would be a great way to make like a bigger handle for something like a pitcher.
Yeah.
Or a teapot. But what I'm going to show you how to do is I'm going to make this pull. I'm evening it out. Still want this nice round shape here. I want this to be maybe a little bit thicker than the walls of what I'm putting it on, but not by much, because again, we don't want to put a handle on that's so thick that it has more shrinking to do and can crack and pull away. So what's very cool about this technique is that, you know, it can be used for so many different things. We're making handles. We could turn this into textiles. We could turn this into some kind of stand if something else gets put on. This could be a foot ring, right? If you made a big platter and needed a big foot ring, this is your foot ring.
Wow.
Right? So there's so many different things that you can do from throwing straps. Okay? So I'm going to just come in with my fancy tool here, and I'm going to cut down just a smidge over here. I don't want to take too much. Ooh, I love how long this is. This really gets in here without trying to... I think we should make more of these.
I like that tool.
Woo! There it is. That was magical. Maybe not so magical on the other side. Okay. What you also, when you're cutting and doing, you know, hanging out at the bottom, you're also compressing an area that your fingertips haven't really touched. And so that's really important. So sometimes you'll see me just kind of hang out, almost like it's a rib, and really what I'm trying to do is just compress. Okay? So now, we use this end of our tool on the vertical cylinder I just made. So think about incorporating the same kind of language into your handles, right? Because again, these are all lines that are connecting together. So here I am, I'm going to slow down just a smidge. I've got my tool. And I'm just going to come in again on that 45-degree angle and set up a potential handle.
That's such a nice tool. I can't.
Yeah, it really is.
So here I am, and I'm just going to basically go down and make an accordion. So I am using this tool to kind of, in my sponge on the inside, oh good, it sets up 3, perfect, okay. And I'm just kind of pushing from the inside. Okay, just hold my tool in its spot there. I've got these little funny bits that I can just come on the other side, and I'm just trimming it off. That one.
That's like the most nerve-wracking part, trying to get like the extra clay off.
Yeah.
I feel like I'll always mess it up.
Right, and you know, here's just my thumb. Making a little line that's trying to be a little bit reminiscent of that line on that pot, right? Then I'm going to give myself that little undercut because I want, ultimately we're going to round that edge over. And then you can also now come in and I'm just going to, with my tool, I'm just kind of going in and helping to separate what these handles will be. Because that's where we're going to end up cutting them. So that gives you a guide as well to come and stick your tool back in on the other side, maybe. And just start that curve. I'm just softening those edges. Again, that's just kind of bringing in a similar kind of line that's on that form, right? And here we are. And I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to release this from here, and we're going to set this aside and let it set up a little bit until it's dry enough that we can touch it without making fingerprints, but still malleable, right? So depending upon what clay you're working with, that setup time is going to be different. So this can be a way, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to cut these horizontal and then probably into thirds to make cup handles.
Wow.
So I've just made 3 times 3 is 9. I just made 9 handles in one go. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but like I can't picture it because I haven't
so we'll
done
get
it
there.
yet.
We'll get
so
there.
like,
So
what do I do?
That's one way. I want to show you
me?
also how to pull handles.
What do I do for me? Because I can't take things off of my wheel head.
I will show you how to. Let's bring up an electric wheel for her, but let's also. I can show you how to use clay to press down one of these. You can also, throw them, get a torch, which is downstairs, and kind of just heat it up a little bit so it starts to evaporate, and then you can lift them up and off. Yeah. So let's also talk about pulling handles. There are a lot of different ways to pull handles. Does that need to be changed at all?
That's not true. I don't know.
Oh, you can't. Hang on. All right. Let me. Because I don't have it.
I think it should be okay. I mean, it was fine before.
Yeah, but I'm going to be pulling a handle like this, so maybe it needs to come up a little bit.
I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Should we go up here and then down here like this?
However. So I just got this is just a 2-pound ball of clay, and I'm just starting to kind of pound it into a carrot shape or a turnip shape. You can do that by rolling it. And pulling handles by starting with a large shape like this means that you can pull multiple handles. So I'm going to get myself ready here with a board to put them on. And I'm going to have this carrot shape, okay? And we're going to pull a handle. So you want to get the whole thing wet.
I think that's how I've seen people.
Yeah,
do
and
it.
so, if I'm trying to pull a big handle, I would use a bigger piece of clay. I'm just trying to think of a cup handle. I'm just going to grab, the small part down here, and I'm going to work between my fingers to use sort of the flat parts of my knuckles to flatten this out. You also notice that I'm going back and forth, because if I just come one way, the handle is going to come out uneven. So you can make this sort of flat space between your fingers. You do need to come on the sides to compress the sides as well. And this can be a little bit of a messy enterprise, but what it yields you is a handle that fits in your hand. Okay? So this is sort of the classic way to make a handle. You can also run your thumb down the center to have that kind of classic thumb mark. Again, this is all compressing, right? And then what I'm going to do is arc this over, okay? And then I'm going to cut it off. And I'm going to move it. So I'm cutting off more than I need. Okay? And then I'm going to take this handle and smush it onto the outer edge of a board, your table, a bat. And we're going to let it dry
I
like
kinda
this.
like that way. It's cool.
You
Okay.
make it look so easy.
Right.
It is pulling handles like this is probably one of the hardest things you'll ever do
Yeah.
in clay. It's deceptively simple, or deceptively hard. I don't build handles this way because I'm not very good at it. Which is interesting, I know. So anyway, but what's really nice about this, much like if you've ever thrown off the hump, is now all we have to do is grab this, kind of roll out another little nugget, and I'm just grabbing the amount of clay that will fit in my hand. I find for beginners, the taller you hold your clay, the less ripping of handles you'll do, because when it's down here, just like in basketball, you follow through up and over, right? If you follow through this way, the ball does not go up and over, right? So the follow through when your hand's down here tends to be over to the side,
Right.
and it rips. So big things are keeping it well lubricated and pulling it up, holding it up higher, so that you can see what you're doing and that you're pulling down and going back and forth. One side is much thicker than the other. Yeah, we have to figure out. Alright, and then I'll make that thumb imprint, and I'll wiggle it over, cut it off, and then I can put it over here with my other handle. So once you get to that place, right, so now I have these two handles, they're having that natural curve, which is probably more than what you need. You'll be able to bend it out later. You will inevitably lose some by them falling off your board. And also what you can do, and I'm just going to roll this to dry my hands on for a second, is that you can, once you really have a sense of how to pull a handle, you can also pull handles off of the side of a cup or a form.
Sounds like impossible.
So what I'm going to do, and this is a way to make maybe, like here, it's hard to get them so uniform until you have the muscle memory that is just repetitive. Hence why we're going to make a lot of handles today. Is that I'm going to start, you could be as anal as weighing out the amount of clay you use. You could use a measuring, that it's like 3 inches or 2 inches. So I've got this nugget of a handle. Again, it's about what can fit in my hand at about 1 inch. And I'm going to start by flattening it a little bit on either side. And flattening out what this connection is going to be. I'm flaring it a little bit. Okay. Ooh. God bless things drying so quickly. So this is the form that I threw a little while ago. It's still a little bit soft, but I think we can do it. So I could think about adding the handle here and having it loop over to there. Okay. So what I'm first going to do is just take a measurement of where this is going to come in contact so that I can score up this surface. The key with this technique is to make sure you have a really good connection. I would not recommend pulling handles off the side of something that's very dry, because that clay will have already done a lot of shrinkage. And putting a little bit of water on there, a little slip. That clay will have done a lot of shrinkage, and your handle will have to do even more, and you have a good chance of it cracking off. So I'm just working this up with a little bit of slip. Then I'm going to take this handle. I've got to support it on the back so I don't you know, push in too hard. And I'm just trying to work all the way around this connection. And you want your hand on the back side to be that friction that you're pressing back against to really combine this. Okay, here goes. And then you pull, so I think this is too wet, but then you pull this handle off the side of the pot and then stick it on. So I'm actually going to pause this because you can see that I've just smushed that. Although it did connect on there quite nicely, there we go. I'll add another handle there in a moment. So once you really sort of figure out the pulling thing, you can also stick it on, pull it, and then wrap it and stick it over. Is one way. And then the last way that I want to show you guys is hand building handles. So let's pause this video, and I'm going to set up on a table because we're going to hand build.
You want me to just hit stop?
Yep, hit stop.